luxurious hotel room. Soft yellow light reflects on the glass on the table, where a wad of money is neatly placed. The bills were brand new, perfectly arranged, but could not cover the emptiness in the eyes of the woman opposite. Elena Kingston crossed her arms across her chest, looked coldly at the man in front of her. Her voice was calm, but no less tough. I need a husband just for one night. No strings attached. No questions asked. Ryan Carter, a man with a cold and mysterious appearance, quietly observed her. His gray eyes seemed to penetrate every layer of defense that Elena tried to erect. He did not touch the stack of money, nor did he show surprise or curiosity. He just curled his lips, his eyes indifferent. Why me? Elena surged through her, hiding her brief confusion. She doesn't let anyone see through her feelings, because I don't want anyone else. Her answer made the atmosphere in the room become heavier. Ryan didn't say anything, but his silence made Elena feel like she was being tested. She didn't like it, but she didn't back down either. After a few tense seconds, Ryan slowly reached out, picked up the glass of wine in front of him, took a small sip, and then looked straight at her. Okay. The Bentley car glided down the long road toward the five-star hotel where the engagement party of Daniel, the man Elena once loved. She sat next to Ryan, her hands clasped together, but her face remained cold, not showing any emotion. Ryan glanced at her, his voice calm but carrying a teasing tone. You seem stressed. Are you afraid of meeting your old love again? Elena closed her eyes and took a deep breath. This matter has nothing to do with you. You just need to do your role properly. Ryan curled his lips and said nothing more. But in his heart, there was an inexplicable spark of interest. When the two entered the banquet hall, Elena immediately felt eyes on her. Daniel, the man who promised to be with her forever, now stands next to his new fiancée. When their eyes met, Elena could see the surprise in Daniel's eyes, but she didn't reveal any flaws. Ryan wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her close to him, making Daniel immediately narrow his eyes. Elena, Elena smiled proudly, her eyes as sharp as a dagger. My husband. She could see Daniel's eyes darken in the blink of an eye, and his fiancée gasped, not believing what she had just heard. But what shocked Elena the most was Ryan's next action. He suddenly pulled her close to him and placed a strong kiss on her lips. The entire room seemed frozen. Elena's breath hitched, her eyes widened, her mind blank. Ryan's kiss wasn't like an act. It was too real, too strong, too deep. Daniel clenched his hands into fists. As for Elena, her heart was racing. This was a game, but why couldn't she control herself? After the party, Elena pulled Ryan out, her eyes blazing. What the hell are you doing? Ryan just shrugged, his eyes cold but challenging. I'm just doing my husband role. Elena gritted her teeth, about to say something, but then remained silent. She knew there was no use arguing with this man. Ryan lowered his head to look at her. His voice suddenly became low, carrying a hint of danger. Are you sure you don't feel anything? Elena stiffened. He is testing her, but she couldn't let herself be caught up in that dangerous emotion. I paid you to impersonate my husband. Don't exceed the limit. Ryan laughed, but his eyes were as sharp as knives. Limit? I think we broke that limit right from our last kiss. That sentence made Elena freeze. She couldn't deny it. That kiss had moved her. Days later, Elena discovered a shocking truth. Ryan Carter is not an ordinary man. He is not an anonymous person. He is an undercover agent, a dangerous man with a bloody past. He doesn't need her money, nor is he interested in fame. But he still chose to appear next to her, for a reason that she could not yet understand. Who are you really, Ryan? Elena asked, her voice trembling. Ryan looked straight into her eyes, not avoiding her. The only person who can protect me. The pouring rain poured down on the city, covering the space with a gray blanket. Elena stood in front of Ryan's apartment, her heart beating loudly in her chest. She couldn't run away anymore. She used to think she could control everything. But from the moment she met Ryan, everything changed. She knocked on the door. Ryan opened the door. His eyes darkened when he saw her soaking wet in the rain. I can't lie to myself anymore. Her voice was choked. Ryan stepped closer. His hand lifted her face. His deep gray eyes seemed to want to suck her in, then stop running away. And this time, it was Elena who pulled him down and gave him a kiss. She has lost too many things in her life, but this time, she won't lose him. Elena doesn't really want a husband. She just needs someone to appear by her side at an important party. It was not just an ordinary party, but an event that she was forced to attend as a guest, where old wounds in her heart would be brutally reopened. Her ex-fiancé is about to get married, but the bitterest thing is not that he has another woman, but that woman is her biological sister. A naked betrayal, a pain that she had to bury all this time. She cannot appear alone. She couldn't let people look at her like a pitiful, abandoned person. She needed a man, someone who could surprise everyone, someone who, when she walked in, wouldn't look at her with pity anymore. Ryan is the perfect choice. He has an irresistibly attractive appearance, a cold but mysterious demeanor. He brings a feeling of strength and stability, as if nothing can shake him. He is the type of man that anyone would believe could protect his woman to the end. Elena knows this is just a deal. No emotions, no strings attached. One night only, a perfect show. She needed him, and she was willing to pay the price to get it. But there was one thing she didn't expect. That was Ryan's eyes when he looked at her. There was something familiar, a confusing contradiction that she couldn't explain. It seemed that in that look there was not only unconditional agreement, but also something deeper, something that evoked a very strange feeling in her mind, as if she had met him before. But she quickly dismissed that thought. The only thing she cares about is her plan, and Ryan will just be a part of that plan. As they entered the party, Elena kept a perfect smile on her lips, a cold confidence covering her like a protective shield. Everyone's eyes immediately turned to them, not only because of her sudden appearance, but also because of the man walking beside her. Ryan is not only handsome, but also exudes the aura of a powerful man. His eyes are deep and his demeanor is calm, but no one can ignore the danger hidden within him. When Elena saw Daniel, her ex-fiancé, standing next to her sister, she could clearly feel the confusion in his eyes. It was not the complete happiness of a man about to get married, but surprise, which was what she wanted to see. Because no matter how much Daniel denied it, she knew her appearance had made him think. Daniel stepped forward, his eyes scanning Ryan quizzically. "Elena, long time no see. Who are you going with?" Elena gently squeezed Ryan's arm, as a way of affirming his presence. "My husband," she said in a cold but proud tone. She could see Daniel's expression change in an instant. It wasn't just surprise, but a deeper emotion, a loss that couldn't be hidden. But before he could say anything, Ryan pulled her close to him, placing a surprise kiss on her lips. Elena didn't have time to react. She felt his breath, felt his dominance right on her lips. She knew that this was part of the plan, but what she couldn't understand was why her heart was beating so strongly. Why did she feel like this kiss was so real, so powerful, as if it wasn't an act but something that truly belonged to her? Daniel stood there, his face stiff, and her sister looked as if she couldn't believe what was happening before her eyes. People around started talking. Some even looked at each other in surprise. But Elena doesn't care about anyone else but the feeling Ryan just gave her. After the party ended, Elena pulled Ryan to a corner, her eyes sharp. "What are you doing?" Ryan just shrugged. His smile was faint, but his eyes still held a dangerous sharpness. "Don't you want me to play the role of your husband? I'm just doing my part." Elena gritted her teeth, but it couldn't be denied that his words were completely reasonable. But there was something about Ryan that made her unable to control herself. He was too confident, too calm, as if everything was in his plan and not hers. Days later, Elena discovered a truth that shocked her. Ryan is not an ordinary person. He was not a man she could only hire with money. He has a bloody past, a secret that she could never expect. When she faced him, she saw something she had missed before. He is not a stranger. She had met him before. She used to know him, and the most painful thing is, she once loved him. Memories rushed back like a fierce wave, washing away all her reason. She realizes that Ryan is more than just a man she hired to pretend to be her husband. He had been a part of her past, a part she had tried to forget. She couldn't run away anymore. Can't pretend that this is just a deal. Her heart no longer belonged to her, but it was taken by Ryan from the first moment he set foot in her life for the second time. She stood in front of his apartment on a rainy night. her heart racing, her whole body soaked. When he opened the door, his eyes darkened when he saw her. "I can't lie to myself anymore," she whispered, her voice shaking. Ryan stepped closer, his hand gently touching her face, as if wanting to confirm that she was really standing here, in front of him. "Then stop running away," he replied, his voice low but carrying a gentleness she had never seen before. And this time, it was she who pulled him down and gave him a kiss. A kiss is no longer part of a plan, no longer a pretense. It was the truth. Everything she had been suppressing for so many years. She has lost too many things in her life. But this time, she won't lose him again. The party took place in the grand lobby of the five-star hotel, where crystal chandeliers reflected off gorgeous dresses and tailored suits. Elena didn't think she would go to a place like this with Ryan, a man she had only known for a short time. But right now, she stood next to him, hand in hand, like a real couple. From the moment they walked in, Ryan took on the role of the perfect husband that they had both tacitly agreed upon before. His arms gently hugged her waist. His eyes were gentle every time he looked towards her, as if she was his whole world. The natural touches of hands and smiles for each other make everyone around them believe that they are truly a happy couple. But what Elena didn't expect was that she herself began to get caught up in this drama. Ryan, the perfect husband. The party took place among the rich and powerful. Elena felt curious eyes on her, but Ryan was unfazed. He gently led her through groups of people, introducing her as if she were the most important woman in his life. His deep voice rang out with confidence. "This is Elena, my wife." For the first time in her life, Elena heard someone call her wife so naturally. And the strange thing is, she didn't object. She let herself be led by Ryan, blending into the atmosphere of the party, walking side by side with him amid admiring looks. When they faced the traitorous man who had hurt her, Ryan did not hesitate. He held her hand tightly, squeezing it gently as if to reassure her that he took care of everything. In that moment, Elena felt safer than ever. "Are you okay?" Ryan whispered into her ear. Elena didn't answer, just nodded slightly. Her heart beat a little faster, not because of fear, but because of the feeling of his hand on hers, because of his warmth spreading into her. Unexpected dances and vibrations. Melodious music rang out, a gentle song for couples. Ryan reached out to her, tilting his head slightly. "Dance with me?" Without hesitation, Elena placed her hand in his. They walked out onto the dance floor, immersing themselves in a slow waltz. Ryan guided her expertly, their steps blending together, as if they had danced together before. Every turn, every time he gently squeezed her hand, brought with it a gentle but solid feeling. "You're enjoying this moment, right?" Ryan asked softly, his lips almost touching her ear. Elena suddenly shivered. She didn't know if it was because of his closeness or because of the confusing emotions in her heart. She didn't want to admit it, but yes, she was really enjoying herself. Her heart skipped a beat. She wondered, was this really just a game? The words left her speechless. After the party ended, Ryan took Elena to the parking lot. The night air was a bit chilly, but his hand still held her hand, holding her close. Elena felt strange with her own emotions. She didn't want to let go. She didn't want to leave this warmth. But at that moment, Ryan suddenly spoke, very softly but carrying an invisible weight. "We've met before, but you don't remember, right?" Elena was stunned. She blinked, looking at him with confusion. The night wind blew gently, making her hair a bit messy. She didn't know if she had heard wrong or if Ryan had actually said that. "What did you just say?" she asked, her voice cracking a bit. Ryan looked at her. His eyes were no longer gentle like before, but instead were filled with complexity, an emotion that she couldn't guess. "We've met before, Elena," he repeated, each word as if he wanted to engrave it in her mind. "But I don't remember." She suddenly felt her chest tighten. "You and I. Have you ever met? Where? When? And why doesn't she remember? But most of all, why does Ryan know her past?" Elena felt confused. Her heart pounded loudly in her chest, but this time it wasn't because of sweet feelings, but because of an uneasiness rising within her. What are you talking about? She tried to stay calm. Ryan didn't answer right away. He looked at her for a long time, as if waiting for something from her. A realization, a bit of memory, or just a gleam in her eyes, but nothing. He sighed softly, then let go of her hand. The once warm hand holding hers tightly was now just cold air. No problem, Ryan said, his voice lowered, almost like a thought to himself. Then you will remember. He walked away first, leaving Elena standing there, more confused than ever. In the sky, the stars sparkled as if hiding some secret, and Elena knows that from this moment, things will no longer be as simple as before. Elena stood in front of the window, her eyes staring out into the quiet night. The cold wind blew into her luxurious but empty apartment, making the curtains gently move like invisible ghosts. Everything seemed to end after that night, the night she traded with the mysterious man. But no, the story has just begun. Why did he come back? Why did he look at her with eyes filled with resentment, but also filled with something deeper, a familiar pain, as if they had once belonged to each other? Elena couldn't remember. But then, when he spoke, her whole world seemed to collapse. You bought me with money, but I'm not here for money. Ryan. The name rang like an alarm bell in her mind. Not this name, not this person, but it's you. It's the person she once loved, the past she buried, the shadow she's been running from for so many years. Elena was dumbfounded. She took a step back, her heart pounding, her eyes opened wide in disbelief. No, this cannot happen. Ryan, the man she abandoned in the past, the man she thought had disappeared from her life forever. He has returned. Ryan. Her voice was just a whisper, trembling. Ryan smiled faintly, a bitter smile. You finally remember? Or not? No way. Elena tried to deny the truth, but the memories came flooding back like a flood. They once loved each other and promised a future together. But then she left him, choosing another man, a richer, more stable man. At the time, she thought she was just doing the right thing, that she was looking for a better life. She did not think that she had pushed Ryan into darkness, into extreme pain. Ryan, you were... She didn't know what to say, didn't know how to face the person in front of her. He is no longer the guy he used to be. His eyes were darker, his face was sharper, and his voice was filled with a coldness that she never thought she would hear from him. Have you changed? Ryan smirked, his voice filled with mockery. Of course. Elena, do you think a person can be abandoned, betrayed, and still be the same? Elena felt guilt engulf her. She wanted to say something, wanted to explain, but she knew no words could change what had happened. She chose her path, and Ryan chose his. So why did you appear here after all these years? What do you want? She blurted out a question, her voice filled with insecurity. Ryan walked forward, his eyes never leaving her. I was madly in love with you, Elena. And chose someone else. And now, I think I can buy anything, including love. But he didn't come back for the money. I came back for something else. Elena's heart pounded loudly in her chest. She could feel his breath, the suppressed rage in every word, but she didn't know what was hidden behind that anger. Is it revenge? Is it a lesson for her? Or is it something that even Ryan himself can't name yet? Memories flooded back like falling fragments, sharp and painful. She missed the days they were together, the nights she leaned on his shoulder, believing that nothing could separate them. But then she betrayed that love, choosing stability instead of dreams. She thought she would never see him again. But he's back, and this time, she can't run away. Elena stepped back, her hands gripping the edge of the table to keep her balance. You want revenge? Ryan looked at her for a long time. His eyes seemed to penetrate her soul. Revenge? He smiled, a cold smile. If I wanted revenge, do you think you would still be standing here? Elena choked. She didn't know what Ryan had become. She only knows that he is no longer the guy from before. But perhaps, deep inside him, there is still something unresolved, something that makes him unable to let go. So, why did you come back? she asked, her voice shaking. Ryan did not respond immediately. He walked to the window, looking out at the dim night outside. "Because I want to know if there is anything left between us." His words stunned Elena. She didn't know what she expected, but it definitely wasn't this. It wasn't like Ryan said it with a voice filled with pain and regret. It wasn't like his eyes contained memories that she had tried to forget. "Do you ever think about me, Elena?" She didn't know how to answer. There are nights when she misses him. There are times when she wonders what kind of person he has become, but she never dared to face that, never dared to look for him. And now, he was standing in front of her, asking the question that she couldn't avoid. Elena bowed her head, her voice like a sigh. I don't know." Ryan looked at her, and for the first time in this entire conversation, his eyes softened. But that tenderness only lasted for a moment. He shook his head, as if disappointed by something, then turned and walked away. "We will meet again, Elena." The door slammed shut, leaving Elena alone in the quiet room. She knew tonight was just the beginning. The past has returned, and she can do nothing but face it. Is this a punishment or a second chance? Elena doesn't know, but she was afraid that this time she no longer had a choice. Elena stood silently in the small room, her eyes unconsciously scanning the dusty bookshelves. She never thought she would return here, the place that was once their home. Everything remained the same, only time passed, bringing with it the memory she had tried to bury. But there are some things that no matter how much you want to forget, cannot be erased. Old images began to flood back, without any invitation. On autumn afternoons, she and Ryan held hands and walked on a path lined with yellow leaves. Late at night, they curled up on the sofa, quietly listening to the sound of rain falling outside the window. At that time, they had everything: love, youth, unlimited dreams. But then, somehow, they lost each other. Elena didn't leave Ryan because she lost love. She left because she thought he wasn't good enough and couldn't protect her. At that time, Ryan was just a young man with empty hands, with great ambitions but nothing in hand. She was tired of the months of struggle, with dinners that consisted of instant noodles and postponed dreams. She wants a safe life, a love that doesn't come with waiting and sacrifice, and so she left him behind. But now everything is different. Ryan has become a stronger man than ever. He is no longer the boy he used to be, innocent, enthusiastic, but helpless. Now, he is a brave man who has everything she ever wished for. But what she didn't know was, all of that he did for her. Ryan stood from afar, quietly observing her. His heart clenched when he saw Elena again. She was still the same, still as beautiful as the day he first met her. But something in her eyes had changed, a tiredness, a deep sadness that she tried to hide. He had been waiting for this moment for so many years. But now, when she stood right in front of him, he didn't know what to say. So many questions filled my heart. Why did you leave me? Do you ever miss me? And do we still have a chance? But in the end, it all boils down to one simple statement. Are you okay? Elena was startled when she heard his voice. Many years have passed, but that sound still has the power to make her heart vibrate. She turned around, and when their eyes met, time seemed to stop. She tried to smile, but her smile couldn't hide the turmoil in her heart. Yes, I'm fine. And you? Ryan smiled slightly, but in his eyes was a deep ocean. I'm fine, but without you, everything has no meaning anymore. Elena felt her heart sink. She knew deep in her heart she had never forgotten Ryan. She had told herself thousands of times that the decision to leave that year was right. But now, standing in front of him, she was no longer so sure. Past and present intersect, like two roads that seem to have separated but then meet again at a single point. The years of separation did not dim the love they once had, but only deepened it. Ryan stepped closer, his eyes gentle but determined. Have you ever regretted your decision that year? Elena looked down. Her heart was confused. She didn't know how to answer. She thought she would never look back, that she had chosen her own path. But when she stood in front of Ryan now, she suddenly realized all these years No matter how hard she tried, she still couldn't forget him. "I don't know," she whispered, her voice hoarse. Ryan looked at her for a long time, then gently said, "I never blamed you, Elena, but I always hoped that one day you would return." Elena looked up at him, and for the first time in years, she let the tears fall. She thought that love was just a part of the past, but now she realizes that it has never gone away. She was just trying to deny it. Ryan gently reached out to wipe away the tears on her cheeks, his eyes filled with love. "There were mistakes in the past, but if we still love each other, we can fix them. Do you want to try again?" Elena fell silent. She knew this was the moment she had to make a decision: continue to deny this love or give it another chance. She looked into his eyes, her heart pounding. She didn't know what the future held, but there was one thing she was sure of. She didn't want to lose Ryan again. "I want to try again," she whispered. And in an instant, the burden of the past years seemed to be lifted. Ryan smiled, a warm smile that she had loved so much. He hugged her tightly, as if afraid that if he let go, she would disappear again. But this time Elena is no longer running away, because she knows the only place she belongs is in his arms. Ryan is not an ordinary man. That was the harsh truth that Elena did not expect. She thought she understood him, knew who he was in the palm of her hand, but in the end, she was just standing in front of a huge secret that she herself didn't have the courage to lift. The two had a beautiful love, but everything ended suddenly and hurtfully. Ryan disappeared without an explanation. Elena had told herself thousands of times that he was a terrible person, that she hated him. But the truth was that her heart had never truly let go. And then, like a twist of fate, Ryan returned. But he didn't return as the man Elena once knew. No longer the simple, gentle guy of the past, Ryan is now a completely different man. Calmer, more mysterious, and especially richer. An anonymous millionaire. No one knows how much money he has, because he has never revealed his true identity. He appeared in Elena's life not for revenge, not to prove anything to her, but simply to know, can Elena love him without money? The first days after Ryan returned, Elena was confused. Why did you appear? What do you really want? While she was still struggling with chaotic thoughts, Ryan still maintained an incomprehensibly calm and leisurely attitude. It seemed like he was in no hurry, didn't need to prove anything. That made Elena even more uncomfortable. She told herself that she would never let him hurt her again. But it was she who, every day and every hour, couldn't stop looking at him. Ryan began to approach her in a way that she did not expect. He did not use money to bribe or make her fall in love. Instead, he made her remember old memories, little things that only the two of them could understand. Evening walks by the beach, laughter echoing on rainy days, even stories that have no beginning or end, but are full of memories. Elena begins to wonder, can she really forget Ryan? Elena couldn't suppress her doubts any longer. One evening, she decided to confront him. In the small room, with only dim light, she looked at him, her voice filled with determination. "Ryan, who are you anyway?" He was silent. His deep eyes made her feel like she was standing in front of a bottomless abyss. And then, he slowly replied, "I never left you." Elena, do you believe it? That sentence was like a knife cutting straight into her heart. How can she believe it? He disappeared without an explanation, leaving her behind with all the hurt. She laughed bitterly. "What are you talking about? If you never left me, then why did I live through such painful days? Why didn't you come back sooner?" Ryan closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then he gently blurted out the truth that she never expected. "Because I wanted to know if you could love me without money. I've always been watching over you, Elena, but I don't want you to love a millionaire. I want you to love a human being." Elena was dumbfounded. She thought she was prepared for all situations, but not like this. The man she loved, the man who had broken her, was the man who had been by her side all these years without her even knowing it. And the biggest irony, She was the one who hired him, with money. Elena burst into tears. She no longer had the strength to control her emotions. Turns out, the love she thought was a normal story turned out to be a tragic cycle. She once hoped that as long as she had money, she could buy what she wanted, including other people's feelings. But then, it was Ryan, the person she wanted to hire to fill the void in her heart, who taught her the most valuable lesson. She fell in love with someone she didn't really know. Does she love Ryan because he is Ryan, or because he is a rich man? Elena was speechless. She looked at Ryan, her eyes filled with pain and regret. But this time, she had nothing more to say. She didn't know whether she should be angry or hurt, should cry or laugh. She only knows that, no matter what, their love has been tested too much. Ryan looked at Elena for a long time. He understood that no explanation could alleviate what had happened. But there's one thing he knows for sure. He's never stopped loving her. He walked closer to her, gently holding her hand. She didn't pull her hand back, but she didn't hold him tightly either. "If I let go this time, will you keep me?" Ryan whispered. Elena didn't answer right away. She just looked at him deeply, as if trying to find something in his eyes. She wants to believe him, wants to believe in this love. But the past has left too much hurt. Ryan smiled sadly, then slowly let go of her hand. He took a step back, his eyes still as gentle as ever. "I won't force you to choose, Elena, but I'll only move on if you really want to." Elena's heart sank. She felt like she was on the brink of a decision from which she could never turn back. This time, will she keep him, or will she let him leave forever? Elena was scared. She doesn't want to love Ryan again, because she knows she might hurt him again. But Ryan didn't let her escape again. In an emotional moment, he pulled her into his arms, whispering, "Don't hire me. Don't buy me. Just love me." Elena burst into tears. She knew that she could no longer run away. But love is not something that is easy to accept when her heart is still full of worries. Ryan looked deeply into her eyes. His eyes contained both sincerity and immense pain. Elena felt warmth from him, but she also felt fear taking over her heart. She wasn't sure she could enter this love again. Wasn't sure she could put all her trust in Ryan again. But her heart, no matter how much she tried to deny it, still beat strongly every time she was with him. Can she dare to accept the love she once lost? Everything is no longer as simple as before. The love between them is tested by misunderstandings, unhealed wounds, and wrong decisions that once drove them apart. Ryan did not leave her side. He held her hand tightly, as if afraid that if he loosened his grip even a little, she would disappear from him forever. "I have been waiting for this moment for a long time, since I knew that not money or fame, but love is the most precious thing." But he also knows that love cannot be forced or imposed. "Elena, if you still love me, please don't run away. If you can't, I will leave forever." Ryan's words were like a knife cutting into her heart. He loves her, but cannot force her. If she doesn't dare to open her heart, if she still lets her doubts overwhelm her, he will choose to leave, no matter how painful it is. Elena gasped, tears falling. She once believed that she could live without Ryan, that love was only a small part of her life. But now, when faced with a fateful choice, she understands that her life will never be complete without him. Could she take the risk again? Do you dare to trade fear for your happiness? She didn't want to lose Ryan, but her fear still hadn't completely disappeared. Falling in love again means she has to accept risks and accept the hurt that may come again. But if she doesn't dare to love, she will lose him forever. Ryan is still waiting. He did not urge, did not force. Just a word from Elena, just a little sign. He would stay. She reached out to touch his face, feeling the sincerity in his every breath. I don't know if I can do it, but I know that I can't let you leave me again." Ryan smiled softly, a smile of relief and happiness. He hugged her tightly, as if he wanted to protect her forever. Finally, Elena made her choice. She dared to love him again. But this is not just a temporary decision. This is a promise. The promise that she wouldn't run away anymore, that she wouldn't let fear control her life anymore. She chose love, and this time, she will fight for it. Elena has made her final decision. She chooses Ryan, but this time, there are no longer any doubts or strings attached. No contracts, no money. Only sincere love remains. The love that both have gone through many challenges to realize its true value. This time, they came together not because they needed something from each other, but simply because they wanted to be together forever. Ryan once thought that love was just a distant dream, but now, with Elena in his arms, he knows that he has found true peace. The wedding day took place in a warm space, not too lavish, but full of love. Friends and family were all present, witnessing their sacred moment. Elena wore a simple but sophisticated white dress, her smile brighter than anything in the ceremony. Ryan couldn't take his eyes off her, as if this was the moment he had been waiting for all his life. When they exchanged vows, nothing existed but their truest feelings. No lies or challenges came between. They have learned how to love without material things, just sincerity and trust. After the wedding, they enjoyed peaceful days together. No more misunderstandings, no more hurts. They start a new life, building everything from a foundation of trust and true love. The days together are no longer a battle between emotions and reason, but absolute harmony. They travel together, cook together, enjoy the simplest but most precious things together. There's nothing more precious than having someone by your side who truly understands you. Ryan takes care of Elena every little bit, from breakfasts in bed to evenings spent gazing at the stars. Elena also learned to love him unconditionally, without any proof. Ryan never thought that one day he would find such a sincere love. As for Elena, she understands that money has never been the deciding factor in happiness. She realized that the only thing she really needed in this life was Ryan. As they sat side by side under the starry sky, she leaned her head on his shoulder and said, "We're finally happy, right?" Ryan squeezed her hand, smiling slightly. "Yes, and this time, forever." They both knew that this was the best choice they had ever made. Life may bring many challenges, but their love is strong enough to overcome them all. Their life isn't perfect, but that's what makes it great. Every couple has disagreements, but Elena and Ryan have learned how to overcome those challenges without letting each other go. They are no longer afraid of the past, nor worried about the future. They only live in the present, cherishing every moment together. What once separated them is now just memories that remind them of the arduous journey they have overcome. They no longer question their worthiness or unworthiness. They just know that they belong to each other forever. That summer, the pale golden sunlight filtered through the dense trees, stretching along the red dirt path. Perhaps real love is not the absence of suffering or challenges, but when two people face everything together and still choose to stay together. Elena and Ryan proved it. They found their own happiness, not in luxury or frivolous things, but in simple but meaningful moments. And this time, they truly belong together, not just for a moment, but forever. Ryan placed his hand on Elena's belly, where a tiny life was slowly forming. She smiled happily. Not only do they have each other, but they also have a new future waiting. Life is sometimes like a game of chess, where each move brings consequences that we sometimes cannot foresee. People are engrossed in chasing fame, fortune, and status, and when they achieve it all, they are startled to realize that the most important thing has been missed for a long time. True love cannot be bought with money, cannot be traded for power, and cannot be forced by arrangement. A lasting relationship is built on empathy, understanding, and sincerity. That is the most valuable thing in everyone's life. Money can buy everything, but cannot buy true love. Modern society seems to always worship money, considering it a measure of a person's value. But reality has proven that, no matter how rich, people can still feel empty if they lack true love. A lavish house can become a cold prison if it lacks the warmth of family. A sumptuous banquet table becomes meaningless without someone to share it with. Many people realize this truth when they lose the person they love the most. Only then will they understand that love is not something that can be bought with money, but something that can only be obtained when we know how to appreciate and give each other the most sincere things. People who chase money and status often think they can make others love them with their external flashiness. But real love is not moved by material things, but only comes from the heart. Someone who loves you for money can leave you as soon as you encounter difficulties. But someone who truly loves you will stay by your side even if you have nothing. So, never exchange sincere feelings for temporary flashy things. The past may be full of mistakes, but everyone deserves a second chance. No one in life can say that they have never made a mistake. Humans are not perfect machines, but individuals on a journey of learning and growing. Past mistakes do not define people, but it is how they correct their mistakes, how they stand up after falling that is worth mentioning. Everyone has their own story, a past with decisions that they may regret. But the important thing is whether we are willing to change, ready to repair, and move on. People who know how to admit their mistakes, who know how to try to become better, deserve a chance to start over. Don't rush to make conclusions about a person because of a mistake in the past. Give them the opportunity to prove that they can change, can do better. Because everyone deserves to be loved and everyone deserves a second chance. If someone has hurt you, but they are truly remorseful and trying to make things right, consider forgiving. Not because they deserve it, but because you also deserve to have a peaceful heart, not bound by past resentments and suffering. Sometimes people have to lose each other to realize that they cannot live without each other. There are relationships that only when lost can people understand their value. When we are together, people often unintentionally underestimate each other's presence, thinking that the other person will always be there, always waiting. But when they die, they are startled to realize how empty and meaningless life becomes without that person. Love is not always sweet and peaceful moments. There are times when we argue, misunderstand, and hurt each other. But if the love is great enough, if the hearts are still oriented towards each other, then in the end, the lovers will still come back together. The important thing is that both of you have enough courage to ignore your ego, learn to be tolerant, and understand that no one's life is perfect. Happiness is sometimes not about finding a perfect person, but finding someone who can tolerate our imperfections and working together for a better future. People often only realize the value of something when they have lost it. But life does not always give us the opportunity to correct mistakes. Don't wait until it's too late to realize that the most important person in your life has left. Love and cherish the people next to you right now. Spend time with them, tell them you love them, show your care in the most sincere way. There are things that, if lost, we can still find again. But there are people who, once gone, will never come back. Don't let your carelessness make you regret it for the rest of your life. Each story is a lesson, a message about life that we want to send to you. Stories are not only entertainment, but also an opportunity for us to reflect together and learn valuable things for our own lives. If you feel like today's story touched your heart, if it made you think about what you have, please leave a like to let us know that this story means something to you. Don't forget to press the subscribe button to the channel so you don't miss the next stories. Stories that can make you laugh, can make you cry, but most importantly, they can make you appreciate this life more. Thank you for taking the time to follow this story. Please share it with your loved ones, because who knows, it might also help them find something meaningful in life. See you in the next stories.